and you have that vehicle for what, 10 years, maybe 20 tops. If you, nowadays it's probably less than that. You buy houses, around here houses are $750,000 minimum, maybe $500,000, whatever, but you live in that house for maybe 20 years. How much time you spend in your body? The answer is your whole life. You always spend every minute in your whole body, so why not invest in it? Why not spend some time? What if these low moments in our life where it feels like we got kicked straight in the junk was actually just the next thing to set us up for something great? My name's Nathaniel Burke, and I'm the host of Kicked in the Junk podcast. Divorce, job loss, injury, or just something that we needed, and the universe telling us we need to change our course. Why can't we all learn from each other? Hello world, my name's Nathaniel, and I'm host of Kicked in the Junk podcast. On today's podcast, I'm switching things up a little bit, and I'm actually going to be just having a little short discussion with you guys about some stuff that I've learned, and hopefully you can learn from it, and hopefully it helps you. And it's really kind of the premise of the whole podcast and why I was doing this, because again, I truly believe we can all learn from each other. Not only that, the theme of this episode specifically, but the podcast is, again, recognizing that these low times can actually lead us to some amazing things. And when we get hit really hard by life, it's awful at the time and it sucks, but we can actually grow quite a bit from this stuff, and it can spark these amazing things. But what the big underlying story for everybody I've noticed is that it makes you stronger. Not just stronger mentally, but physically and emotionally as well. So that's kind of the theme of this episode today, is realizing, and this theme I always tell everybody, is that struggle makes you stronger. Right? Let that sink in. I'm going to say it one more time, is that struggle makes you stronger. I'm not talking about, again, when you're getting just crushed and, let's say physically you're in the gym and right now you can only squat 100 pounds, but you try to squat 400 and you're struggling. No, that's going to kill you. It's going to get you hurt. But think about what that, what does struggle mean? Struggle means that you can do it. It's just super uncomfortable, or you're not quite sure, or you're 70, 80% there, but it's pushing you past what you're doing now. So again, the theme here is that struggle makes you stronger. And I'm going to give you a few examples, and I'm going to give you some tools that you can use and move forward with to help you in your life, because we all, most of us, again, talk about things in our past, or we'll talk about things in our past that we feel like we're stuck in and that we're living in those past things, or we want things now in the future, but we just don't want to go get them. Or for whatever reason, there's just something that's just stopping us, whether it may, and a lot of times it is because of we're afraid of the struggle. And I've been there before. I'm not saying I'm perfect in this by any means, and I'm always learning. And that's why I'm doing this, is because I love listening to other people and hearing their stories and learning from them. And it's not hard to do that. And if I think, that's why I want to share this, is because we can all learn from that. So I did make some notes here, so I might be glancing down here and there just to keep myself on track, because again, this is the first time I've done a solo podcast. But yeah, I'm really excited to share this. So again, struggle makes you stronger. So first things first, I'm going to talk about, physically. This is an obvious one. A lot of people can understand this and it's easy to grasp, and then we're going to move forward from this. But again, examples of struggling make you stronger. You go to the gym, you're at a certain weight, or you're at, whether you want to lose weight, gain it, whatever it is, you have to push yourself past what you're doing now in order to get stronger. So if you were at the gym and you were only able to squat 50 pounds and you want to be a bodybuilder, or you want to play sports, you want to get better, you must improve that to improve as an athlete, or to lose weight, or whatever you're doing. So you have to be able to move, whatever you're doing now, you have to anticipate and be ready and really enjoy that struggle. That's the tough one, is to realize that struggle's actually the cure to getting past where you are right now. So you have to be willing to do that. Again, so think of the 50-pound squat you're doing right now. Well, if I want to get super strong and I want to, I want to look a certain way, I'm going to have to increase that. So it is going to require me to be, I will be struggling at some point to move forward, to gain. And then that, you go from 50 to 70, and then from 70 to 90. But every time you're doing it, you constantly think of just pushing yourself. Where, wisdom comes in is that it isn't, and where I find our society can get things a little bit skewed, is that, well, I went on Instagram and I saw this guy and he lost 100 pounds in, 4 months, I don't know, whatever. Or this guy took his deadlift from 200 to 500 in a year. I want to do that. And it's great goals. It's amazing. But those things were like that guy might have been a freak, or that girl, whoever it was. Don't put yourself in their shoes, and don't compare yourself to them, because one, that's going to make you not feel good. But two, set something realistic. And I don't mean that it's not going to push you, it's going to be tough, but start by even just going from 50 pound squat to 100 pound squat, right? If you've never done it before, or, if you're like, okay, I want to lose some weight, say you want to lose 100 pounds, that's amazing. I think you should, good on you, please do it. But maybe instead of going to 100, maybe just start by, okay, well, let's start by losing the first 20 and keeping it off. So you're making these small goals. You have your macro goal, and you're making these small little goals. But again, expecting that struggle. So allowing yourself to be flexible in that as well. But the theme here is that we are constantly having to just push it a little bit more. And these little pushes, it is mentally tough. Physically, it's definitely tough, but it's not, we're not going from here to here. We're just taking these little increments. And every time we do that, we get a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger. And we get a little more resilient, and we're able to handle more. Again, think about those runs, or thinking, whether you're going for runs, or you're doing cardio, or lifting weight, whatever it may be, just adding a little bit more each time, right? Just very small. And the problem is I find too, is sometimes we don't celebrate those little wins. We don't look at that compound effect. We don't realize those little days that we're coming in and doing those little bits are actually is the groundwork, is the bread and butter for any successful goal. Anything you want to accomplish, that is the bread and butter to being successful, is those small little wins. It's that compound effect. If anybody hasn't out there's listening and you haven't read The Compound Effect, I encourage you to please read The Compound Effect. It's an amazing book. The base principle is, would you rather have $1 million today, or would you rather have a penny doubled for every day for a month? Which one would you want? Well, when you look into it, by an outstanding amount, the penny doubled every day for a month is a much greater value than having it all in one go. So the point there is that a small compound effect for becoming more resilient physically is so powerful. So don't stop doing it. So that's where it is creating a habit, right? We need to make sure that we do those, and that's what I'm going to talk about at the end. It's, some tools at the end. So physically, check. Definitely struggle makes you stronger physically, 100%. Moving on to mentally. This is a really good one, and we've all kind of seen that, but sometimes we forget. Again, think about, I have kids, and they're going on 11 and 13 here pretty soon. When they were first starting school, learning to read was a struggle, right? Learning to write was a struggle. It's messy, it's all over the place, but they go to school every day, and they practice. They get better at their learning, right? That's mentally making them tougher. So they have those struggles where, something's bad, or, one of them had a teacher that they didn't like for a while because she was so strict. Well, now, because of that strictness, he was able to, and how her teaching method, it didn't really like at first, but now he's actually appreciates it a lot more, and appreciates because it helped him learn a lot quicker, because there was constantly just being pushed. So again, thinking with learning, right? Are you doing things in your day, week, to mentally push you? Are you constantly learning? Or are you sitting in front of your phone and just looking at the next thing to tell you what to think or do or whatever, right? Are you sitting in front of your TV and just spending your days, in your time, which is the most precious thing we have? Are you spending your time, being inundated with things that it's entertaining at times for sure, but is it helping you grow, and is it helping you become the person you want to be? And if you don't want to change, well, that's fine. You can stay, and that's okay. But if you do want to change, if you are looking for something different, and you want to grow, and you want to start a business, start a new relationship, get out of a relationship, change jobs, change careers, go back to school, whatever it is, it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to require a struggle, and there's going to be some struggle there, but it's going to make you stronger. So having those little struggles along the way are good. I give an example of, I've had, bosses before in the past where it was difficult to deal with them all the time because they were very overbearing and micromanaging. But I heard it from a good friend of mine, and it was like, well, yes, I could be mad and oh my God, I'm going to quit, whatever. And sometimes there's a time, place to do that. But what I learned was, those little, just kind of, it was kind of an irritating times, but it did make me mentally tougher. It made my skin, tougher, made me tougher so I can handle when those stresses. So that way, when life kind of throws those things at you, I can handle it better. And unfortunately, there are a lot of younger adults being raised by helicopter parents because their parents, when they grew up, had it really harsh. Well, then they flipped the switch and went completely the other way. And so they weren't inundated with enough, these little struggles or these little stresses to help build up their resilience, their mental resilience. That way, when they do get fired, or when they do have a problem at work, or when they have a problem with their job or career, or maybe it's, even going to school, they're not collapsing. They're able to, take this and go, okay, you know what? I've had all these other things. I've overcome all these other little things. I can take on this. Right? This isn't going to beat me because I've done these little successes along the way. And that's where I'm saying taking those little chunks, those are so big, is realizing that those little pieces are so valuable, and so we can look back at them and realize we can do more. So, and to recap mentally, we need those little struggles. It definitely helps us. And I'm not talking about taking abuse. There's a big difference there. But just things that, kind of those little struggles there. And, it's, we've all had them before, whether it's a coworker that you don't really like. You don't have to spend all day with them, but you do have to, there's every once in a while some confrontation there, but you really like your job, or maybe it's a client of yours that's, you really enjoy helping, but they also have these little things that, well, for whatever reason, make it tough to be around. Those are just setting you up to be able to handle more. So trying to look at these little problems or these annoying, these things that come in our life with, hey, you know what, this is actually going to help me in the end. So that's kind of the lesson there. So that's where, again, those little struggles will make us mentally stronger, be able to handle more. And lastly, emotionally, this is a big one because, again, we've a lot of people, and I've been there before, we don't want problems. We want to go on easy street. Why can't my life just be easy? Well, do you know who doesn't have any problems? Dead people. Dead people don't have any problems. You don't want to be one of those. So these problems are part of life. So instead of being angry and mad and focusing on that, looking at it with having that emotional resilience to handle some of these things. That life is going to throw you curveballs. That you are going to go through some dips, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But those little dips are going to help build you up and give you some resilience for when life hits you some big stuff, because it's going to happen, right? It is going to happen. And, the whole point of the podcast is those big things actually lead to some greater things. But, so I the analogy of that, I would say is, they did this study where they put this big, dome over this piece of earth, and they made this little isolated biosphere for life to grow. And they grew some trees, and wow, this is so cool. It's growing. How amazing is that? And then it grew really tall, and then eventually just fell over. Why did it fall over? It had this perfect environment. Well, there was no wind or stress to make this tree stronger, right? So there's another good saying, and it's the strongest tree, the best timber doesn't grow with ease. The stronger the wind, the stronger the trees. So think about that emotionally when we have these little stresses, right? Think of, getting a parking ticket. Yeah, it's super annoying. It's frustrating. You got to pay it, whatever, but it's not the end of the world. You're going to be all right. It's just going to build you up. You get a speeding ticket. I got one recently. It's the first time in a very long time. Again, but I have enough emotional strength to not let it ruin my life and not ruin my day, and just go, what? Well, I was speeding and I got caught, and that's just what it is. So I need to move on. So allowing for those things, or when things don't go your way at work or whatever it is, realizing that those little emotional stresses, there's value there, right? We're not going to be free of any negative time. And I've said this before on this podcast, but those low moments help you appreciate the big moments, right? A good example is if everything in your life was always amazing, you never had to work and you never had this, how do you really enjoy going on vacation? If you go on vacation 8, 9, 10, let's say every month, are you going to enjoy it the same? Probably not. Having those lows in contrast will allow you to appreciate those other things better. And when you're earning it, right, when you're struggling and you're realizing that you have to put in a lot of effort to gain these things, you enjoy it a lot more. So again, those stress makes you stronger, mentally, emotionally, and physically. So realizing that there's a lot of value there. So that's kind of the recap for today. And I'm going to walk away. I have some notes here, just some tools on how you can make this, how you can utilize this and make this part of your everyday. So again, this isn't about motivation, because yes, motivation is great, but motivation comes and goes. Well, I want to give you some habits. That's the whole point of these, is to give you habits and tools so you can utilize it. Because if you look at, it's been said, if you look at someone's habits, I can show you someone's life. Everybody that has daily habits knows that if you get up every morning and work out, you're going to have you're going to be in better physical shape than if you don't, right? Or if you get up and you work overtime all the time and you're adding extra hours to your business is going to be more, your odds are going to be more successful than if you're not. So again, the habits here. So physically, run through these quickly. So physically, do you do something that pushes yourself when you work out? Or first of all, are you working out? Are you in the gym doing something that's physically pushing you? It doesn't just necessarily mean the gym, but again, are you, if you're running or if you're biking or whatever kind of activity, again, I'm talking about something that is pushing you. Not something that, I go on my walk and I do my same walk every day, whatever, or I have my routine, I've done my routine for years. Well, that's clearly not pushing you. It's not challenging you. It's not forcing you to grow. Are you doing something that's making you physically stressed, right? Physically, or is it, are you doing something different? So again, if you're not working out right now, or you're not doing some sort of daily exercise, do it, right? You're going to be living in your body for the rest of your life. A quick analogy on that is, how many people out there have bought a vehicle before, right? How much money do you spend on that vehicle? 10, 20, 30, sometimes $100,000, maybe more for a vehicle. And you have that vehicle for what, 10 years, maybe 20 tops. Nowadays it's probably less than that. You buy houses, around here houses are $750,000 minimum, maybe $500,000, whatever, but you live in that house for maybe 20 years. How much time do you spend in your body? The answer is your whole life. You always spend every minute in your whole body, so why not invest in it? Why not spend some time in it? Doesn't have to mean you have to dump it thousands of dollars, but I think everybody should be investing some time and money into their body, because you're in it forever. So invest some time, invest some money into your body, whether it's a gym pass, whether it's just going out and running and pushing it, but you have to do something physically every day to push yourself. You must. It's just going to make you so much better person. I'm not going to go into all the benefits behind it, but I could talk about that for hours, but you must be doing that, because that's if you want to grow in your life, if you want change. So second is, this is something that I started doing a while back, when during the peak of my fitness career as a trainer, I realized I wanted to learn more, I wanted to grow. How do I do that, right? I could take courses, absolutely, super great, nothing wrong with that, but I realized that, there's the internet. There is almost all the information in the world that you could ever think of on the internet, and it's free. So yes, you can go to course and all this, and I do believe those are great and wonderful. So if you're doing them now, daily or often, awesome, keep doing it. But I took a different approach that didn't cost any money and only took me 10 to 15 minutes a day. And I had journals, and I would learn something new every day. And I would look up whatever questions I had clients ask me, whatever I wanted to learn about every day. And I would look up and read about something new every day. And it wasn't a bunch. I wouldn't sit there for hours and hours. And this is the point I'm trying to make, is these things were little compound things that just piled up. So, I started, and I would journal them. I'd write them down. Sometimes it would take me 10 minutes. And oh my God, it's amazing. I learned something about nutrition or health or fitness or muscle group or whatever. Other times it was mental, it was coaching, whatever it is. But my point is that you can, whatever field you're in, whatever you want to get in, whatever interests you, learn something new every day. I did it. You used to do it 6 days a week, and I would journal it. And you'd be amazed that at first, I'm like, it was only a few things. But one, I learned something new, and I would talk to somebody about it. And then when I look back 2, 3, 4 years later, it's like, holy crap, it's slingshotted my knowledge in that industry so much, because every day, again, think about that. I would take 1 day a week off, so 315 whatever days a year, I was learning something new, and I'd go back and read it and tell somebody about it. That's a lot of information learning and it doesn't take, it's not a superhuman effort. Like, I'm not superhuman, but I just was determined enough and I built it in a habit to learn something every day. So challenge yourself. Put that little bit of just struggle in your life to learn something every day. Maybe it's a video, maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's reading, writing, book, whatever. Just learn something for 15 minutes. That's it. 15 minutes to invest in your own mental health and in your own life. So that's, again, tool number 2. And then tool number 3, this is one that's, definitely changed my life forever, and I continue to do it. I'm actually teaching doing a workshop on it, is meditating. I've talked about lots in podcasts, but this one was so big because at the time I was in a different relationship, but definitely, things weren't going well, and I wasn't in a place where I wanted to be. I noticed really is, we had kids at the time, and I wasn't there for them. I wasn't present, right? I would get home when I was working, and then I'd be stressed, and I'd be on my phone, and they would talk to me, want to play and hang out, and I'd just be so in my own head, and I couldn't be present with them. So that's why I started meditating, and I realized, and it was tough. It was super tough. I remember the first week, I would sit there and close my eyes, and all I could think about was, oh my God, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. And all the things I should be doing, I got to be doing this. I got the kids. I got to clean up. I got to get dinner ready. I got to do all these things. But the more and more I started to do it, the better I felt. And it took that bit of time to be able to sit with myself, because what you notice when you're sitting with yourself like that, you're going to notice some things pop up. Either you're panicking because you feel like you have to go, which means you need to slow down, or you have these popcorn thoughts. It means you need to process some stuff, right? Or there's a few things can happen, but those are the things that I noticed. And the more I slowed down, the more it was easy to process those things. So meditating daily emotionally made me so much stronger, because any emotion that I was feeling from the day of being stressed or being worried or upset, I was able to release. And I literally had physical releases. And this is the fascinating part. I've done a bunch of counseling, which if you haven't done any counseling, do it. It's the best thing ever. Invest in yourself. But even just the meditating side was such an easy thing. And again, to why I was able to get those releases. So for example, you look in the wild, you look at bears, so you look at rabbits and deer. They're prey, right? So when prey are chased or they're in pursuit, they go into flight, right? They run, and they're very good at it. They're very good at escaping. Well, what scientists start following them, what they notice is that these animals, once they're in that fight or flight moment, they run, but then after, when they're safe, they stop. And rabbits do this, deer, whatever, and they would literally sit there and shiver and shake. And that's them releasing all that energy, because their body pumped a bunch of hormones in their body, because they're, oh my God, I'm going to die, I need to run. We get inundated with this stress all day long. Sometimes it's looking at your phone and you're getting fired up because of a video that's a fight video, or something that's emotional, that's drama, or maybe it's even our own thoughts. I used to do all the time is build my own thoughts in my head about whatever scenario I wanted. I'd be stressed out about, my heart was racing. I'd get in my own head and dive into this, but that's your body doesn't know the difference, or your brain doesn't know the difference. So it would realize, oh my God, we're in a fight or flight. What's going on? Pump us with hormones. So to get back to the meditation side, so when you are meditating, you can have that as well, where you get that physical release. So there've been so many times, my wife can attest to this, but when I'm meditating, I'm just closing my eyes, and I got popcorn thoughts going through, and I'm thinking about whatever. I'm trying to stay present, but I get this release, I get these shocks down my body, and it's my nervous system releasing that energy, which is so good, not just physically, but mentally, and my head can feel clear, and emotionally. So the meditating is so valuable, because it makes you emotionally be able to handle, life is going to throw these things at us, but instead of it being spikes, instead of it being here, it becomes more here, right? And we can handle those lows and highs a lot better, versus, when we're not able to be present with ourselves and present in the moment, those lows become super low. And we've all been there before, because you can, it's different with your life, but you look at someone else like, why are they getting so upset at that? Why are they getting up? Because they're not in the moment, right? But so that's what meditating does, is you can realize that you're able to navigate those lows and highs better. And it builds up emotional resilience and clears a slate from any stuff that's gone on during your day, whether it's past, maybe it's something that might happen. You're able to take on those things so much better. And that's why I'm so passionate about meditating And there's so much I could go on for hours about it, but that's just a little snippet of why it's so valuable. So to recap, again, struggle makes you stronger. So are you doing something physical every day to make you stronger? Pushing yourself just a little bit. Don't think of, you're not climbing Everest today, but just a little more than you did yesterday. Just a little bit more. Are you doing something to mentally push yourself just a little bit every day? And again, I'm not saying I'm perfect at this. I'm not, I've messed up lots, but I always try to come back to that. Am I learning something different? Am I learning something different? I've had to do this podcast. I've had to learn how to make better videos. I've had to learn how to use Instagram and how to post stuff on YouTube, because I don't like it and stuff, but I've had to learn, and I'm constantly struggling. That's a little bit of that struggle to make me better. And then lastly, are you doing something emotionally to make you more resilient? And I would say, again, going back to meditating, doing something like that. That's just one. There's other ways, but that's just the way that I know and I'm passionate about. And if you want to learn how, you can go to the 8-week meditation class, because it's super wonderful and we're having a great time with it. And there's recaps, and definitely love to teach how to do that. So yeah, that's it for today. Again, all those topics I could go on for hours, but I hope you learned something from this. Try to keep it short. And yeah, if you haven't, subscribed yet, please subscribe. Please follow. Share it. Right? That's how to make this thing grow, because again, it's not about me. I don't want to be about me, but it's about us, right? As a whole. How can we all get better? And again, I'm not sure if I've shared it yet, but I've started these videos because I watched a video years back. It was actually a Tony Robbins video when I wasn't feeling good about myself. It's a 5-minute video that changed my life forever about, depression and how to do that, and, being, grateful and gratitude. So that's why I wanted to do this. So maybe this reaches you and it inspires you to do something, or even just change your life in just a little way. So thank you so much for listening. Please, like I said, share, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now.